Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Good morning, this is Jonathan Small, host of All About You. This program could be seen throughout the world on AccessTV.org network. This program is taped every single week from AccessTV.org network in downtown Hartford. This show is designed to give my guests a chance to give their life story and occasionally get into a particular topic. This morning I have the Attorney General for the state of Connecticut, George Jepsen. Good morning, Mr. Jepsen.
Great to be
Jepsen?
here.
Yes, okay.
How are you?
What is the definition of an Attorney General in the state of Connecticut?
The Attorney General is the chief civil law enforcement official for the state. So what that means is I don't have any criminal jurisdiction. So if you're dealing drugs or you get caught dealing drugs or breaking and entering or committing a crime, that law is enforced by a separate office, the Office of Chief State's Attorney. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't. But the fact that we don't have criminal jurisdiction doesn't mean we're not busy. We enforce the laws for the state of Connecticut. For example, if you're a polluter and you need to go to court, we take you to court. If you're businesses that are cheating and cheating consumers or colluding to fix prices, we're the enforcement action. And so enforcing Connecticut's civil laws is our number one job. The second thing we do is we represent the state of Connecticut in court, so that if the state gets sued, for example, let's say a person is at a state park and a trail is poorly marked and they fall off a cliff and they sue the state, we defend the state. If a state employee is laid off and claims that they're wrongfully terminated and sue the state, we defend. If a corrections officer is accused of being abusive to an inmate and the inmate sues the state, we defend. So that's the second function. The third function that I'll elaborate more on a little bit is that, and this, well, let me stop there and make the point that what this means is that 99% of our work is what we call non-discretionary. We are kind of required to enforce the law or required to defend the state. All told, we handle about 54,000 separate cases per year. The largest of those number of those is child support. When somebody doesn't pay their child support and the family has to go on state assistance, we go to court to retrieve that money. So that's about 25,000 of the 54,000 cases. When a kid is a victim of abuse or neglect and, for example, needs a foster placement, we represent the Department of Children and Families in making that happen. That's another 13,000 cases. Mm-hmm. So there are big cases and little cases. I've got one education funding case where I've got 4 lawyers working full-time on the case. In child support, a child support lawyer might handle 15 or 20 cases in court in a single day. But the fact that a case is small doesn't mean that it's unimportant. It's obviously critically important to a family's on child support that they receive assistance from my office. So I remember one day where in the morning 2 hospitals came in to talk about merging, Yale, New Haven, and St. Raphael's, a huge issue for healthcare delivery in New Haven. Then in the afternoon, I had a meeting with Governor Malloy on an education funding case, another huge hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. Then I went from there to a meeting with 2 lobster fishermen from Stonington. Their issue tiny relative to these other cases, but for them it's their livelihood, and so cases large and small. So I got 210 lawyers to handle this caseload, and we're divided into 15 different departments. I've mentioned child support, child protection, consumer protection, antitrust. This is where businesses collude to fix prices. Financial services, where we assist homeowners with mortgage-related issues. Public works and transportation, that's mostly state issues that revolve around all the state buys and sells property and needs easements and rights of way. So what we call torts, which is where the state gets sued. I mentioned that's like a slip and fall in a state park. So the list goes on and on. There's another component to the job where I'm entitled to, and this dates back hundreds of years, but I'm entitled to act in the broader public interest. That goes beyond simply enforcing state laws or defending the state in court. And so that has allowed me to get involved with issues that affect people in their day-to-day lives. I'll give you an example of that. I was working with other attorneys general from around the country in what was called the National Mortgage Foreclosure Settlement, where we threatened to sue the 5 largest mortgage servicers for their running roughshod over the rights of homeowners who were facing foreclosure. And we achieved a $25 billion settlement that brought over $450 million in Connecticut to assist distressed homeowners who needed assistance with their mortgages. And I'm very proud to say that more than 6,000 Connecticut homeowners received, who were distressed, who were behind in their mortgages, received some form of assistance to help them get through the difficult times that they face. So the bottom line, and I'm sorry to go on so long, but the bottom line, this is an office that reaches into every nook and cranny of public life in the state. The variety and complexity of the issues that kind of roll past me on a day-to-day basis is extraordinary, and it's a challenge every day.
Well, so now it's also another reason why you have to have over 200 attorneys working for your office, and those are key positions. Even the assistant attorney generals are also key positions that you have to have running your operation.
We have 210 lawyers, and we divide our office as follows. I have one deputy who's the operational head of the office. Mm-hmm. Then we have 4 associate attorneys general. One handles all litigation in the state. One handles all of our appellate work when cases get appealed to the Connecticut Supreme Court, for example. Then we have an associate who handles professional development within my office so that the attorneys have their needs and support staff have their needs met. Then one who handles special projects. Under those 4 are 15 department heads, departments I've just rattled off, from environmental protection to consumer protection, and the like. And then each department has some number of assistant attorneys general. The largest is our child protection department with about 35 lawyers. Then our smallest probably is the group out with that handles utility regulation out in New Britain with 4 or 5 lawyers.
Mm-hmm. What typical day does the Attorney General have to put in? Is this a long hourly day job that you have to do throughout the week?
Yeah, it's long but flexible. So if I need to take a break at 2 o'clock and run and pick up my son at high school and take him to a doctor's appointment, nobody can tell me I can't do that. So it's long, but it's flexible. The length, because there's an expectation. I get to the office usually around 8:30 in the morning, and sometimes there's a breakfast meeting before I go to the office, and there are frequently public speaking requirements at night or on weekends. So it's a lot to juggle. My hobby happens to be cooking. I'm a passionate cook, and I do all the cooking at home, and so I try to make sure I'm around for dinner most nights, or that if I'm not, I might run home in the late afternoon and throw a chicken in the oven or something like that, so that my family has something to eat.
Mm-hmm. Now, this job is an elected position, so the residents of Connecticut actually vote for the Attorney General?
That's correct. The nomination process, there's a Democratic convention in May with about 1,600 delegates. In 2010, I was unopposed for the nomination, so I was the unanimous choice at that convention. And then I didn't have a primary. If there had been a primary, it would have been in August. And then the election was in November, and I got about 55% of the vote.
So how do you feel the residents of Connecticut should judge the Attorney General towards voting? Is it something that you look at the track record of what the individual has done or what the office is designed to do? I mean, what track record should the residents of Connecticut make their decisions on voting for the Attorney General?
I think the bottom line is that honest businesses and the average citizen need someone in government who's more than just a voice. You need someone who's has their interests at heart and is willing to stand up and be not more than a voice, but a true legal advocate for their interests. So that if you're a consumer, the consumer protection laws that are there to protect you are being vigorously enforced. Are the environmental protection laws being vigorously enforced? Is that Attorney General up there fighting for homeowners who are victims of banking fraud? Is the Attorney General out there being an advocate to protect the health care of citizens? I'll give you just a recent example. The United Healthcare recently announced that it was eliminating more than 20% or around 20% of the doctors in its Medicare Plus network. And this is a health insurance that it's a kind of wraparound package for Medicare for about 60,000 senior citizens. My mother's 94, and my sister and I handle her financial and health care issues. And so I know firsthand that from the last 20 years' experience that a lot of senior citizens simply are not in a position to make informed choices to protect their interests as a consumer. And healthcare is critical, obviously, to state the obvious. And so I've been aggressive and vigorous in calling out United Healthcare to explain and defend their actions, and we've gotten federal agencies involved to help oversee it. So you want in your Attorney General somebody who's going to be an aggressive advocate to protect you from what can be a very unfair and sometimes a difficult world.
Well, have the Attorney General's offices grown in Connecticut and changed rapidly over the past 40 years? Is it more of a complex job duties that you would say the Attorney General office have to do today comparable to 40 years ago?
That's an excellent question, and the answer is absolutely yes, in a lot of different ways. Ever since the Reagan administration, the federal government, which had been, a protector, the federal government through the 60s and 70s, ever since the New Deal, saw as its mission to help protect the average citizen, and that's declined significantly since the Reagan administration. And into that breach have stepped state attorneys general from around the country. And so this office has been transformed from a quiet backwater, and under the leadership of first Joe Lieberman and then Dick Blumenthal, they took as have attorneys general around the country, taken a much more activist approach to the job. And so in 1975, for example, there were probably 60 or 70 attorneys on staff. Now there's 210, and that's even down from the height of 5 or 6 years ago of 230. In addition, and this is one of the most interesting aspects of my job, state attorneys general now work together on issues of national interest, because if a national bank is screwing up in Connecticut, it's probably screwing up in Texas and California and Florida as well. If a health insurer, I mentioned United Healthcare, if they're cutting their provider networks in Connecticut, it so happens they're doing it in other states as well. And so we team up on a bipartisan basis. I'm very proud. We're not a partisan group like the U.S. Congress. We work well on a cooperative basis, and some Republican attorneys general like I view as good friends. This was well known, for example, in the tobacco settlement that Dick Blumenthal was part of, that has brought billions of dollars to from the tobacco companies for their essentially lying to the American public that their product was not addictive or harmful. I mentioned earlier that I was part of this national mortgage foreclosure settlement that has brought over $450 million. That was a national negotiation and I was on the negotiating committee for it, but all 50 states participated in that settlement. Currently, Connecticut is the lead state suing, out of 20 states, suing Standard & Poor's for their mislabeling, and working with the Justice Department. We work very, very closely with the Obama administration on issues like this. We're suing Standard & Poor's. We allege that they mislabeled what we call mortgage-backed securities as AAA when they were in fact junk in the lead up to the Great Recession in 2008. So the issues are complex, and the role of attorneys general, both in this state, we've grown from 70 to 210, and these national issues have grown in scope over the last couple of decades.
Well, Attorney General Jepsen, that's going to have to be your last words. We just pretty much ran out of time. I might just have to invite you to come back sometime in the near future to have you give more information about this very important job that you hold. Again, this is Jonathan Small, host of All About You. I enjoyed my show this morning with my special guest, Attorney General George Jepsen. And again, this show could be seen all throughout the world on accesstv.org network. As I say every week out there, to everybody out there, have a very blessed day and keep the faith. Thank you.